Hello and welcome back to Kia's 2 Cents, where I, Kia, give you my 2 cents on all things film, television, books, and pretty much whatever I want. We are back with another installment where I watch shows that were canceled after one season and then answer 4 questions: what I thought about it, why I think it got one season, do I think it should have gotten more seasons, and what would have happened in those subsequent seasons. And today's show is Ravenswood. Ravenswood is a spin-off of the show Pretty Little Liars, and it follows Caleb, who is Hannah's boyfriend on the show, as he moves into this new town. And they actually aired a backdoor pilot during Pretty Little Liars where it kind of gives the reason how they got to this town and why Caleb stayed. But essentially, this has to do with their search for A, and it turns out that Caleb goes to their cemetery, and there's a gravestone and a tombstone, and his face is on it. So he stays to try and figure out why, and it's really about him and 4 other kids in the town, and there's this mysterious town curse that they basically learn about and try to break. So first up, onto my thoughts. I actually only just watched Pretty Little Liars for the first time like a year or so ago, so yeah, I'm pretty late to this train, but I knew it was on. I knew that everybody was watching it. I just wasn't. But my thoughts on Ravenswood, I liked it. I liked the town mystery of it all. It kind of sort of reminded me of Sleepy Hollow, which at least the first season was my jam. It did take a good like 4 or 5 episodes for me to really lock in, but overall I thought it was a pretty good show. The one thing that I wish didn't happen was that Miranda died. I wish that she was still living. I wasn't a huge fan of her being a ghost and them seeing her. There were moments when I was like, are y'all not remembering that you're in public and you're talking to a ghost? And also, why aren't the people around you looking at y'all weird? Like that was the whole thing that like kind of took me out of the whole suspension of disbelief. But I just wish that she was still living. I also, as a Hannah fan and a Hannah and Caleb fan, did not like that they broke them up. I remember, I didn't watch this while I was watching Pretty Little Liars, so I remember him coming back on to that show and them being broken up, and also him being with Spencer, and I was not at all a fan of any of that. And I did not like how they did their relationship on either show, with the whole breakup thing. And now on to why I think it only got one season. Honestly, I feel like there could have been a lot of people who watched Pretty Little Liars and then moved on to this show. One, because of the Caleb of it all, and 2, I think that a lot of them might have thought that it was going to be more in the vein of Pretty Little Liars, and it was way more supernatural than it was just creepy stalker. And so I think that it had the possibility of not grasping all of the Pretty Little Liars fans, because I know that there were a lot of them and people have a lot of opinions on that show, but I could see some of them watching it and dropping off because it was not in the same vein. Also, I could see a lot of them dropping off because of what they were doing with the relationship between Caleb and Miranda, and how he was absent from Hannah's life. And there was even an episode where she comes and it's just, they break up. It's not good. So, and I know a lot of people like them, like myself, so they could have just gotten really upset and stopped watching. I've seen things like that happen before. I understand. And now, do I think it should have gotten more than one season? That is also, again, a very complicated question to answer. Kind of, sort of, not really, maybe. But I think that there was a clear goal in mind of the storyline of the show. Figure out what the curse is and try and break that curse. I think that this show might have been better if it was like a limited series mini series. There were only 10 episodes. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there were only 10 episodes. And I think that it would have been better if it had like 13 to 15 episodes and was a limited series only supposed to run for one season. They figure out this mystery, they solve it, and that's it. The end. Caleb goes back to the Pretty Little Liars show, and this is just like a one-off over here. So I guess my answer to the question is no. I don't think it should have gotten more seasons. Is there a possibility that they could have drawn out the mystery more to make it more seasons? I think so. If you haven't watched it, sorry, spoiler alert, I guess. But the whole mystery is that way, way back in the past, there was some deal or pact made. And so what happens is there's a soldier from the town. When they go away to war, they don't die. But when they come home, the price of that is that 5 teenagers are basically sacrificed. So I think that they could have maybe drawn out how they learned about that a little bit more. They could have focused more about that in the first season, and then in the second season focus more on them trying to fix the curse or break the curse, and then let that take as long as it needs to take. There's also the aspect that like only one of them died, and while I didn't like that Miranda died, it lets them know that the curse has not been fulfilled in this instance yet, and so all of the other teenagers are in danger. So of course there's that looming something is trying to unalive us that they have to be aware of at the same time as trying to break this town curse. And then there's also people in the town who basically sell their souls to like the devil or evil presence. And so they also have to worry about them, because that was also a thing that happened in this season with one of the girls' boyfriends. And then there was like the funeral home director and all of the creepy things that he was doing, and his assistant partner woman and all of the weird things that they were doing. So like I said, I think it needed more episodes in this season, so that's why I said give it 13 to 15 and make it a mini series, limited series, whatever the correct term is. But I could see it being dragged out. I just don't know if dragging out this type of story would have been as well received. I guess it really does depend on the lore and all of that history and what they chose to do with the storylines. If they kept it on the surface, probably wouldn't have done well with more seasons. If they gotten into the depth of it all and really like, you know, people from the past whose descendants are still living in the town and like connecting all of those dots and things like that, I could see how there's a possibility that they could have lengthened the series with more seasons. The issue with that is that when you have a lot of lore, you have to keep track of it, and you have to not have plot holes and things like that. So there's a lot that could have happened. I feel like me personally, I would have just liked it to be a one-off, one season type of thing. So do I think it should have gotten more seasons? No. Miniseries, limited series, I'm fine with that. Is it a possibility that it could have? Absolutely. And the final question, what do I think would have happened if we got more seasons? I think I already answered that in the previous question, so just roll that tape back to hear all of that. I'm wondering if it got more seasons, if there was a way to phase Caleb out of it, because I know with some spin-offs, they have a character that carries over, and that's who you're following in the spin-off. Usually that character's connection to whatever characters in the original series isn't them dating is usually like a family member or a friend. And so I'm wondering if it would have been better to somehow phase Caleb out of it and bring him back into Pretty Little Liars, since so many people liked him and Hannah together, and breaking them up was just not good for a lot of people. But yeah, I guess that's all I could say on what could have happened if it got more seasons. So yeah, that is what I have to say on Ravenswood. Do me a favor and take those 4 questions that I answered, and if you have seen the show, answer those questions for yourself in the comments. I want to hear all of your thoughts and opinions and things like that. If it differs from mine, if it's similar to mine, all of those things. Also, if you're a Pretty Little Liars fan out there, let me know. If you're a Caleb Hannah fan out there, let me know. You can sound off in the comments. If you're highly upset about them breaking up, I will let y'all go off. And if you are new here, this is a series that I am going to be doing. If you did not catch the first installment, I talked about Freaks and Geeks, and if you're interested in that, you can go back and consume that. Also, continue to suggest shows to me that were canceled after 1 season. I am not going to watch shows that were only meant to be 1 season. Give me shows that's why I'm saying canceled and not 1 season shows. I need shows that were meant to have more seasons but ended up not. So suggest those to me and I will try and find them and watch them and do this whole thing with those. You can also go to my page if you like this video, check out some more of my content. And if you like that, you can subscribe and you can follow me on other places all over the internet. All of that information will be in the description box. And until next time, bye.